It's finally here. Amazon Prime Day GPU deals are upon us, and believe it or not, GPU prices are at their lowest level of 2026. Welcome back to PC Builder. I'm Jason. We're going to go through current GPU pricing, which is coming down, by the way, as well as what best GPU deals you should expect for Amazon Prime Day and all the related sales. We'll go through all the budget categories from the best GPU under $200 to the best 1440p GPU and the best 4K GPU for every budget level. If you get value out of this video, please give it a like, of course, subscribe for more cool PC content. Let's jump into it. This video is sponsored by VIP SCD Key. Say goodbye to crazy expensive Windows licenses and that terrible Activate Windows watermark. Right now, use the links in the video description, head over to VIP SCD Key and get a Windows 11 OEM license for a great price. Pick your product license, then use the PC Builder discount code PC25 for an additional 30% off. Go to the activation settings on your PC, put in the code, and boom! Windows is fully licensed for a crazy low price. And they have Microsoft Office licenses too. Use the links in the video description. Let's quickly punch through the sales we expect. Obviously, Amazon Prime Day starts on Tuesday, the 22nd. This year, they're going to do a 4-day event. It's always really been 4 days, but they've always been like, oh, it's 2 days. Oh no, and now it's extended for 2 days. It's always been 4 days. I like it 4 days much better. Starts on Tuesday, goes through Friday. And obviously the competitor sales out there, we've got Newegg Fantastic Sale. That starts the day before. It starts on Monday, the 22nd, 12 a.m. Pacific time. Newegg's a major US retailer, obviously, especially for things like GPUs. Then, of course, we've got Best Buy sale. Best Buy is going to have their Summer Tech Fest. They used to call it Black Friday in July, but it's not July anymore because Prime Day moved up from July to June, so it's all scrambled. So they're renaming their sale the Summer Tech Fest. Also, same as Newegg sale, basically June 22nd through the 28th. And then Walmart's got their Walmart deal days, basically the same sale, June 22nd through June 28th. Before we get to those big deals that you can expect on GPUs for Amazon Prime Day, let's first take a look at GPU pricing in June 2026, about 4 days or 5 days before Amazon Prime Day begins. So most of those discounts have been ripped off at this point. They've jacked the prices up on these, but look at that. The prices are actually lower in June than they have been at any time in 2026 since we saw that massive GPU price spike due to VRAM costs, mostly VRAM costs. We all know RAM prices are up. Look at the 9070 XT. Let's start off on the AMD Radeon side with the RX 9070 XT 16 gigabyte, $649 in June 2026. That's down from $719 in April and even more money earlier in February. In fact, this deal right here, $649 for the RX 9070 XT, the Gaming OC, and the OC Ice. That is a premium white card you're getting. This is basically the price you should typically pay. It's about 8% price premium over MSRP. These are not MSRP card models, I should say. So that's pretty exciting, except unfortunately, I don't know what I did when I hit record about 10 minutes ago. That deal just disappeared like instantaneously. I guess it's the caster curse. Right now, the cheapest one I can find is $689 for the XFX Swift, or you can go pick up the Power Color Reaper for also $689. Fingers crossed, I do expect that gigabyte deal to come back. Jumping over to the RX 9070, 10 minutes ago, a better deal for that one actually dropped for $579, down from $619. That's a welcome relief because that GPU is a GPU that I feel like should definitely be a little bit cheaper. Right now, it's a Power Color Reaper over at Amazon. You can also find some other models if you don't like this one for about $599, which is really, really nice. Let's talk about GPU where within days got an immediate price cut from AMD. That's the RX 9070 GRE 12 gigabyte. They launched it at $549. I told you immediately, don't buy it at $549. It's a terrible price. Wait until they cut the price $50. And I told you that we're going to do it. Within a couple of days, not a single one of the listings, by the way, sold out for the RX 9070 GRE. I've been watching them like a hawk. Not a single one sold out at Newegg. So of course they went out and cut the price on it because nobody was buying the card, right? So right now you can pick up the Gaming OC model, again, a nice gigabyte model, actually a nice OC model, I should say, for $499. This has been this way for about a week. I mean, this card's only been out for about 17 days at this point. The way you get it, you go to Newegg, you basically click here and you enter your email address. And when you log out with your Newegg account, you get a $50 discount, $549 minus $50. There you go, $499 for this card. We'll see later on whether or not that actually makes it good value in this market. Then we got the RX 9060 XT 16 gigabyte. This is a GPU I just don't understand. Why is it the 9070 XT $50 over MSRP, 16 gigs of VRAM, and then the RX 9070 is like, $30 over MSRP, 16 gigs of VRAM? The 9060 XT has been way too much over its MSRP. It's $70 over MSRP right now. And they say, oh, the VRAM cost. Well, then it's all the same VRAM being used in these GPUs. It's GDDR6. Why is it so much more expensive for what should be the budget end card, but did come down $20 from last month, which is kind of nice, I guess, for the Sapphire Pulse RX 9060 XE 16GB. And this is an OC model, which is kind of nice. But again, we'd love to see this one get down to a lower price, and maybe that 9070 GRE price will push it down. All right, let's jump into GPU pricing on the NVIDIA GeForce side for June 2026. Again, just probably a couple days before Amazon Prime Day right now. So again, we don't expect the best pricing right now, but look at that. We are seeing prices seemingly coming down from some of their crazy highs. Now, NVIDIA GPUs, obviously, as we'll go through, not well priced. In fact, let's start off with one that I just blew my mind. The RTX 5090 went up $500 in a month. $500 in a month. Went from $3,800, $3,700, kind of was floating there for a while, to $4,200 for the cheapest model right now. That is the Gigabyte Aorus one. Now, this is a super nice GPU, by the way. It's got an LCD gaming screen on the end of it and everything, but $4,200. This is a $1,999 and $2,000 MSRP GPU, LOL. I don't think we'll ever expect that again. And you can see here's all the rest of them at Newegg. They're all $4,200. There were plenty at about $3,800. I don't know what's happened in the last couple of days to see these prices for the RTX 5090 just spike up. Now, on the good news side, let's start off with the RTX 5080. The price continues to chip away and chip away. $1,400 just a couple months ago. Stuck at $1,289, about $1,300, now down to $1,249. Now, I will say there's only two models really. There's either the Zotac model here at $1,249 over at Newegg. You can see it goes up pretty quickly in terms of overall pricing, although there are some models like the Gigabyte one here. If you click and get the discount, it does come down to a more reasonable price as well, so you can check those out. And then we also got this one, the PNY NVIDIA over at Amazon for $1,249. There's the triple fan OC model here with RGB you can pick up for $1,299 for about $50 more if you want kind of some additional bling on your GPU. The RTX 5070 Ti, the GPU that everybody would love to actually have it be around MSRP, just frustratingly stuck at almost $1,000, finally seems to be coming down to $900. So not a massive discount. It's about 10% price cut basically, down to $899. Now, I will say right now that is this model. That's the Asus small form factor Prime. I know a lot of people love this GPU. It's not quite small form factor. It's just a 2.5 slot card. It's still 3 fans, $899. The delivery date on this is getting pushed out every time I refresh this page. I think it's probably going to sell out today, but I will say if you go over to Newegg, you'll see, Jason, these are all $979. What are you talking about? I thought these are all like $909. It says discount code available. So you click here on this one, for instance, on the MSI Ventus. $70 discount code, that gets you to $909. Now, the one big deal is that they were coming with the free 007 game on top of these discounts, which actually made it almost somewhat make sense if you really hit your head a couple of times against the wall. But unfortunately, they're not coming with that game right now. Though, if you do want a pretty high-end one like the Gigabyte Gaming OC, I think Gigabyte's just the gaming OC models on a lot of these, $190 discount off of $1,099 gets you that $909 price. It's not fantastic, but at least the price seems to be coming down. And as we look at the RTX 5070, nice little price cut down $30. Again, doesn't come with the game anymore. I was kind of hoping for a bigger price cut, but you can pick this one up over at Walmart right now for $599, or you can pick up for just about $10 more the MSI Shadow 3-fan model, which is kind of nice. And then we won't even talk about the RTX 5060 Ti 16GB. I strongly suspect NVIDIA has decided to give up on this GPU, and they're going to replace it with the 5060 12GB Super that we'll talk about in just a moment. And what we're seeing is essentially the last of those GPUs kind of just being sold for insane prices like $569. Meanwhile, there's not really that much change to the rest of the stack. In GPU news, you should know that it does appear that NVIDIA is back on track with the RTX 50 Super Series. However, it's not necessarily the refresh I think a lot of people were hoping for. I did an entire video on this. Mega-sized GPU was the one who leaked this, has a very, very good track record. Let's quickly go through the specs. I'll summarize some of this, but I'll leave my other video link down in the video description if you want a deeper dive on this. Basically, the 5080 Super, the 5070 Ti Super possibly, and the 5070 Super are all the cards that we were expecting. The specs seem to be the same as earlier leaks. Basically, the 5070 Super is going to get a little bit more cores, 18 gigs of VRAM up from 12. The 5070 Ti Super and 5080 Super, basically just VRAM increases and then possibly some overclocks with the more TDP out there. The one that's possibly the most interesting is the RTX 5060 12 gigabyte. Now, why would NVIDIA do an RTX 5060 12 gigabyte and a mega-sized GPU says he doesn't think they're replacing the 5060 8 gigabyte, they're just adding the 12 gigabyte version. Possibly they'll call it the 5060 Super 12 gigabyte or some combination therein. I suspect we're seeing the end of the 5060 Ti 16 gigabyte basically, and they're going to replace that in the segment with the 5060 12 gigabyte. Yes, it'll be slower than the 9060 XT, but I think NVIDIA will be like, it's close enough, and it'll give them something more price competitive with the 9060 XT 16 gigabyte than something that's $550 versus $420. In terms of when these GPUs are launching, it's anyone's guess. I would suspect probably either the end of this year or early 2027. So I wouldn't necessarily wait too long for these GPUs. One thing you should consider if you want to think about should you buy now or should you wait, maybe to Black Friday or something like that. Igor's Lab came out with an article in late May. He looked at the cost that he estimated it took to produce like the 9070 XT, for instance, 16 gigabyte. He was estimating based on current value of some of these materials that they should be significantly more expensive than they're selling for at retail. In fact, 200 euros more he expected. He's over in Germany. This is an auto translate, by the way. He thought what's going on right now is you're seeing GPUs that are on the market that haven't sold yet, that were produced when component prices were cheaper before the big RAM crisis started, essentially last October, November, or until contract prices changed, probably in early 2026. What he's saying about that is that GPU prices he's expecting are going to spike up relatively soon after the GPUs that are replacing the ones that are out there for sale right now come in with higher prices. So if you're thinking about should you buy now or should you wait, at least according to Igor's Lab, and I don't necessarily agree with this, I just want to put that out there, I think he may be overestimating some of the BOM costs on these. But if you agree with Igor, then I would probably tend to want to buy something right now and not wait. Let's jump into the best GPUs to buy for Amazon Prime Day. As we go through the categories, I'm going to focus in on the GPUs that you should be keeping your eye on that I think are going to go on sale for Amazon Prime Day. If you're not familiar with how we do this, we've got a big spreadsheet of all the GPUs with 8 gigs or more of VRAM that are currently driver supported, Intel, NVIDIA, and AMD Radeon. We've got the upscaler in there, we've got FPS estimates, and we come up with a price to performance for these. And we looked at both used and new GPUs. I update these prices on a monthly basis. The spreadsheet is linked down in the video description. If you want to put your own pricing in here, if you want to change some of the discount code, for instance, you can do that. All right, starting it off with the best GPU under $200 for Amazon Prime Day. This is where the GPUs all have 8 gigs or more of VRAM, and obviously the price is less than $200. Unfortunately, there's only one new GPU. It is the Intel Arc A580. It's back in stock in the US for $199. It's got 8 gigs of VRAM. XeSS 3 is a pretty decent upscaler, 55 average FPS. Again, that's at ultra details. You're going to go to medium for most games out there. I do think if you feel uncomfortable buying something used, I would pick that one up. If you've got about $100, I would pick up the RX 5500 XT because it's your only real option. There's both a 4 gigabyte version and an 8 gigabyte version. Get the 8 gigabyte version. But honestly, if you got about $160 to $200 and you're fine buying something used, the 20 series is going to really do you well. Don't get the 2060 6 gigabyte. Get at least the 2060 Super up to the 2080 Super. Those all have 8 gigs of VRAM. You got DLSS 4. And it's pretty good price to performance, to be quite honest. Moving over to the best GPU under $300 for Amazon Prime Day, June 2026, including what do I expect to go on sale. So we're looking at GPUs, and I have moved it up to $350 because GPU prices are what they are in 2026 in this segment of the market. And we're looking at 8 gigs or more of VRAM, and we're only looking at brand new. We'll bring in the used market in just a second for the best 1440p GPU. My honest opinion, find some more money and go with $420 up to $500 would be my strong recommendation. You will get a significantly better product. But if you're stuck, hard stuck here, especially like more like $250, what would I get? Let's kind of go up the rank here. I do expect we'll probably see some sales on like the Arc B580 and B570 $249, will we see that get much cheaper? But you might get like another game deal. They keep throwing that on every so often. So that's definitely one to take a look at. The Arc B580 just keeps going up in price. Maybe it's possible they'll never make another desktop GPU. I still feel comfortable that Intel's going to support Arc graphics, especially for handheld devices. They seem to be going big into that market right now, and they're rolling out driver updates for that. So I don't think they're going to stop GPU support, even if they don't do desktop GPUs anymore. For older CPU users out there on PCIe Gen 3, the 96 XT 8GB, probably the upgrade you want. Possibly the 7600 XT 16GB, if that's in your market. It's currently in the US right now for $349. I just don't foresee any huge sales on any of these GPUs. Jumping into the best 1440p GPU for Amazon Prime Day in June 2026, we're looking at GPUs, both new and used, under $500 with 12 gigs or more of VRAM, and I prefer new GPUs, so I've got a 30% discount premium on new ones because they come with warranties. No one's ever used them before. They've got their full useful lifespan ahead of them. There's no inherent risk in buying them. So I do prefer those at a 30% discount rate. It was 40% last month. Some of you said that's too much, so I reduced it to 30%. If you don't want to take any of that account, you can just look at the raw 1440p price to performance. What would I get in this market right now? If you can find the 9070 GRE 12GB, I think that is an excellent GPU at $499 or less. Over $500, it's too close to the 5070, as we'll see in just a moment. You'll also notice no new NVIDIA GPUs make this list. Insane, totally insane that that's where we're at in 2026. But NVIDIA is all about AI right now, so it doesn't surprise me. AMD, meanwhile, is cutting prices on some things. I think the 9070 GRE is a good GPU to pick up. I think 12 gigs of VRAM will be enough for 1440p for the foreseeable future. If you absolutely have to have NVIDIA, the RTX 3080 12GB. Don't get the 3080 Ti 12GB, by the way. It's the same speed as the 3080 12GB roughly, and it costs about $100 less on the used market because for some reason people want to pay another $100 for Ti, the letters. DLSS 4, 12 gigs of VRAM, relatively fast, and it's $368 used, which is pretty good. That's about the average eBay price right now. In terms of what else is on the market, the 9060 XT 16GB, I expect to see some discounts. I want to see that GPU at $399. I really think that's where it should be, $399, especially with the 9070 GRE coming down to $499. That would make a lot more sense. And I do expect some price discounts. What else on this market? I mean, 6000 series is tough because you don't get until 2027 FSR 4.1. I'm not willing to wait that long. I just think those are really kind of my three options. Jumping in the best 240Hz 1440p GPU for Amazon Prime Day in June 2026. This is where the GPU has 12 gigs or more of VRAM, and we're looking at both new and used options. No price limit. I'm showing you the top 5 used and the top 5 new options right now. There are other options. They're not as good as these, though. And we are using the 30% preferred new overused GPUs in terms of price to performance. What would I get? I would definitely buy a 9070 GRE. If I only had about $500, that's the GPU that I'm looking at. 12 gigs of VRAM is typically enough for titles like CS2, League of Legends, Battlefield 6, plenty of VRAM for those kind of competitive titles where you're going to turn it down to balance or even basic settings anyway, so you're not really concerned about VRAM as much as you want the GPU go fast, right? In terms of other GPUs out there, the 9070, great value if you want more FPS. 9070 XT, also great value if you want even more FPS. What would I get if I had to have NVIDIA? I would definitely not even take a look at the 5070 Ti, and we'll talk about sales in just a second. 5070 with the game made a lot more sense when it got down to under MSRP. Without the game, it's fine. It's fine. It's not bad at all. If like Jason, I will never buy anything except NVIDIA, then I'd get a 5070 for $599. And by the way, the used options, the used market right now at the high end is way overheated. I just wouldn't touch any of these. In terms of what's going to go on sale, I don't think the 9070 GRE is getting any cheaper. I don't think AMD is ready to eat enough crow to go from $549 to even $449. Maybe for Black Friday, who knows, with 12 gigs of VRAM. But it's a good price right now. The 9070, $549 might be as cheap as that thing gets. So $579, I'd probably just go ahead and pick that one up right now. That way I have that one in hand. If it goes cheaper, I'll buy a different one in return, right? And then we've got the 9070 XT. similar situation. $649, that's like an auto buy to me. In terms of NVIDIA, will you see discounts below $599 on the 5070? Maybe like 10 or 20 bucks, but it won't be coming from NVIDIA. It usually comes from the board partners themselves. They can't afford to give you that much. NVIDIA could afford to give you a lot more and they just won't do it. And don't expect any sales on the 5070 Ti. That thing is just unobtainium. Jumping to the best 4K GPU for Amazon Prime Day, June 2026. So again, 16 gigs or more of VRAM, has to have at least 60 average FPS natively at 4K. I'm showing you the top 5 values, both new and used, and we are using that adjusted price to performance. So what would I get? Either a 9070 or 9070 XT, that's kind of 2 recommendations. Will those see sale prices? I think $579 is pretty close to the price floor for the 9070. I wouldn't expect it to get much cheaper, possibly $549. The 9070 XT, if you can find $649, that's great, but that's really, I think, the price floor probably for it. And then what? The 5070 Ti, I wouldn't even take a look at. If you've got more money, I think option number 3 is the RTX 5080, because it's the only thing that gives you more FPS for not like crazy more dollars, right? $1249. Will we see a sale on the RTX 5080 for Prime Day? I think you might, but it's going to be the more basic models. You're not going to get the super high-end models. So just take that into account, but it is an option if you don't want to pay RTX 5090 money. Will there be a sale on a 5090? What are you smoking out there? No, you'd be lucky if you pick this up for $4,200 and it's not $5,000 in 3 days from now. I just think they're going to $5,000 with a 5090. They've been stepping the price up. We've seen it coming. So just dial in. If you want a 5090 and you haven't bought it for some reason, I don't know where you've been. Welcome back to Earth or welcome out of your coma. Buy that GPU right now. Let's play everyone's favorite game. Should you buy now or should you wait all the way to Black Friday, possibly even 2027 for something like the RTX 50 Super Series? I honestly think we've got a sale. GPU prices are now at their lowest level in 2026, at least on the AMD Radeon side, even on the NVIDIA side after the big price spike up in the early part of the year. So right now, if you want a GPU, I would snap one up. I don't necessarily know that pricing is going to get much better. There is some threat out there, at least people like Igor's lab think that GPU prices are going to go up, that we're basically experiencing kind of a remaining amount of GPUs that were manufactured under the old pricing scheme. And when we get the replacement stuff, they're going to be more expensive. So consider that. I do think at the same time, the AI bubble is in the beginning stages of absolutely completely coming apart. And I do think we will see that. But when is that going to translate in terms of cheaper gaming PC hardware? Probably not until 2027. So if you want a GPU anytime between now and I'd say mid 2027, I would buy something right now, and I would buy it on Amazon Prime Day when you have an actual sale that you're likely to get a pretty good price at. And I will say, pretty good price to performance for AMD Radeon GPUs. For those of you who are like, I have to have an NVIDIA GPU, I mean, I want to help you, but you got to give me something to work with here. You're going to have to spend quite a bit more money than you would on an AMD Radeon GPU. If you're fine with that, I think the 5070 Ti is not going to get any cheaper than $899. I'd buy that. The 5070 probably not going to get a lot cheaper than $599. I would probably buy that. Do you want to wait until some mythical 50 Super Series that comes out either at the end of this year or early 2020? I think the problem is you're going to be right back to the 50 Series launch where, yeah, it comes out, it's a paper launch, volume doesn't come for months. You're basically going to be waiting into the middle of 2027 for these things. So no, I don't think they're worth waiting for. If you disagree with me, then you can wait, of course. Otherwise, I would buy something right now. Check the links in the video description for the current pricing and availability in your region of all the GPUs we talked about. We're also going to have a completely separate list down there that we curate and update with the absolute best deals for each GPU series that we can find. If you got value out of this video, please give it a like. Of course, subscribe for more cool PC content, and we'll catch you on the next one.